What is up, everybody? It's your boy Evan S. coming at you from San Antonio, Texas. How you doing? Today, I got a little bit of a setup. As you can see, I'm zoomed in. I figured out that my camera will in fact let me zoom in, and that makes me really excited. I'm really happy about that. And two, everybody, check this out. Look at my beard. I got my hair done. I was like, I'm not going out today, but you know what? I'm gonna get my hair done just for you guys. Just for the fans, all 0 of you. So this is what I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying? I'll move over here. I can't. It's so awkward. I'm sorry, but this is what I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying, guys? Like, here's me. Okay, way better setup. I'm way more happy with this. I'm more zoomed in. I'm looking more presentable. Exciting stuff, guys. Exciting stuff. Super pumped about today. Well, here. Like I say again, every week, hopefully I get a little bit better. A little bit of an update, a little bit of a life update for me. So I was gonna start that job tomorrow, and there's been an issue with my paperwork because they sent me a link, said, "Hey, fill this paperwork out." And long story short, it just didn't show up properly. I've tried everything. I've logged in. It makes me log into a little server, and I do that, and I log in, and then it's like, oh hey, press this button, and that button's not there. So there's an issue there. So I talked to my GM yesterday, and then I emailed the district manager of that place today. So I'm waiting on his report. I'm hoping that I can start tomorrow and see what he says. But I asked him, hey, what do you think should happen? And we'll see what happens. If not, I guess I'm just going to find somewhere else to work, which is disappointing, but I'm hoping for the best, praying for the best. So keep me in your thoughts and prayers, everyone. Root for me. Tomorrow, I figure if I can't get a response, I'm probably just going to start calling up places nearby and seeing if they need any help, and probably look at the local coffee shops and whatnot, because I think that'd be fun. A fun job for me, little E. So, now that's out of the way, it's time for the show. I didn't have a show yesterday because I didn't know what to talk about, and I was a little bit upset. And I almost didn't have a show today, but then I was like, no, Evan, I know myself. If I keep on getting myself too many days off of not doing anything, I'm just gonna stop doing it. So I just need to keep busy. So today, I was like, what am I going to talk about today? And the main thing I want to point out is, oh man, I don't have the article set up. My apologies. But basically, news broke today that Square Enix is going to take over the time slot at E3 that Sony normally takes. Because, of course, a few months ago, Sony said we're not doing E3 anymore, and they go to left a vacuum. But now Square Enix is taking them, which was like the main slot at E3 every year. The afternoon slot, I think like the 7 p.m. I don't know, but like the headliner of the franchise. So this is exciting to me. I'm a big Square Enix fan. I have been for since I was in elementary school. Shout out to Kingdom Hearts and Final Fantasy 12 and Final Fantasy 7 George Cerberus. Today I kind of want to talk about what I want the Square Enix press conference to be like, what I'm hoping for. The past few years of Square Enix, or let's be honest, I don't think Square Enix has ever had a good press conference that I saw that really got me really jazzed for anything, which is a bit disappointing to tell the least, but I have some few ideas that we're going to go through and we're going to talk about. So the first thing I think Square Enix is going to talk about, the first thing I thought of when I heard this news is, the new Crystal Dynamics has a Avengers video game, and we've known it for a couple years now. We haven't heard much about it, and I think this summer, of course, the Avengers comes out this weekend. I think during E3 is when you make that proper reveal. Rumor has it is that you're going to be playing as 3 characters, Captain America, Captain America, Iron Man, and Scarlet Witch. That's a rumor. I think that makes sense to me because those characters are varied. You have Captain America and Iron Man both being icons, and then you have Scarlet Witch, who's a female protagonist, and also will play way differently than the other two. So I think that's pretty exciting. What other characters? Like, I think that if Sony, Square Enix is smart. Like, Square Enix needs to show something. Like, last year they had this terrible press conference and they hardly didn't even show anything new. It wasn't even a press conference, it was like a video. It was terrible. I was in jury duty when I actually saw it. It was terrible. Well, I wasn't watching it during now, whatever. But anyway, yeah. So Square Enix is like awful press conference last year. So I think having the Avengers game there, I think that's a game that you, I don't know if you start off in that or you end on that. But I think either one of those two. Like, I don't think that's the middle game. I think that's a game you want to, like, hey, this is big. Oh, sorry. My computer just froze out because my computer sucks. It's probably going to crash for a second. But you know what? We'll see what happens. So anyway, Avengers game. I'm pretty excited to see more about that. See what the I'm really hoping that they don't do a Thanos storyline, because a lot of times, even though the games aren't licensed games, well, they are licensed games, but they're not like based on the films. You do see trends about the films. So yeah, I think that it would be really upsetting to me that if they go with something that we know of. There's a vast line of the Marvel Universe, and also it's interesting to see what characters are going to be in the Square Enix game, because you imagine they probably have a pretty big cast, but hopefully they have, who knows, if they can put in some Fantastic Four characters, or maybe some X-Men characters, I don't know. Even though if I'm Marvel Games, I think you have an X-Men game by themselves, if I'm them. Spider-Man probably won't be there because of the Spider-Man video game. I doubt Spider-Man would be in the game. But we'll see. Yeah, I think that's the game that I want to see. The second thing, of course, I want to see is Final Fantasy VII Remake, which has been a long joke for several years now. Announced too early, for sure. A game I'm still very much excited about. Final Fantasy VII, of course, one of the greatest RPGs of all time. One of the greatest, like, you revolutionized video games. There wasn't a lot of 3D games before Final Fantasy VII, but that was one of the first fantastic achievement. And gaming, of course, has even to this day, like, most people know Final Fantasy VII more than they know any other Final Fantasies, because it's just that iconic to the Western audience. And I'm really excited for the remake to come out. Even still, like, they changed the combat system, of course, from being the original turn-based to a more action RPG, kind of like Kingdom Hearts or Final Fantasy 15, which makes sense. Tatsuya Nomura is reportedly directing it, who directed Kingdom Hearts, of course, and was the original director of Final Fantasy 15 when it was called Versus 13. So a little trivia if you didn't know that, but I feel most people did. Anyway, having it be like that makes a lot of sense to me as a viewer, as a player, because for me personally, I don't really believe in remaking something exactly the same way unless you can do it in, like, a way that's, like, different. I know that doesn't make any sense, but this is the Lion King remake as an example. If they just made, and they said they're not doing this, but if they just made a shot-for-shot remake of the Lion King, the cartoon, but used, the CGI fest, then that's so different, right? Because this is such a different medium that I would be down for it. Thing is, though, is that even the games look prettier. It's still a 3D game. Even though it's been 20 plus years, it's still a 3D game. So I'm not really interested in a straight remake of Final Fantasy VII. A lot of people think the rumor is it's going to be 3 different parts, or that might have been confirmed, I'm not sure. But it is going to be 3 different parts. A lot of people are upset about that. I just want to see, because if it is something like, oh no, we're like making Final Fantasy VII, we're making an epic trilogy based off of it, and really expanding in some areas, and really making the games this sprawling epic, then I'll be very happy about that. So we'll see what happens with there. If it's shorter games, then I would be disappointed. But if they're meaty, like 30 hours, even if they're 20 hours, right, each, I would be like, that was a good start. 10 hours or so, like, I don't want to link to like an Uncharted game. That'd be kind of disappointing for an RPG, but we'll see what happens. I'm excited about that. So Final Fantasy VII Remake, I'm hoping that shows up. I think that's a game that, if I'm Square Enix, and this is assuming they have stuff to show, if I'm Square Enix, I think I would open with the Avengers game, and I think I would end with Final Fantasy VII Remake. But you have to do something big, like a release year saying 2020 or 2021, or like you have to show something substantial if you do Final Fantasy VII. You can't just give another teaser. It's like, no, this game is back. It exists. So I would close that. So start with the Avengers game, end with Final Fantasy VII Remake. Because I think to me that is the most logical and the most, I don't know, just makes the most sense. So what other games we could do? Well, we have Kingdom Hearts 3, which just came out, but today they're actually releasing the new Critical Mode. Nomura has said that he wanted to add DLC to the game. I think summer is when we might see that, or something like that, to say, okay, whether it be different episodes, like kind of like a Final Fantasy 15 episode, whatever, to like really expand on these characters, I'd be down for that. You know, I don't want to spoil anything if you guys haven't played Kingdom Hearts 3 yet, but there's a ton of characters in that game, and a lot of them just kind of pop in and out of the story, and I would like to see, okay, what happened to them when they were doing this, or, you know, or what happened to this, and maybe expound on some things, which, fantastic game. Probably still my favorite game of the year besides Tetris 99. Yeah, Tetris 99 is still my favorite game of the year, which is weird, but anyway, yeah, that's fantastic. I can't wait to play that. This thing is going to be a fun little game to play. And what else is that? What else after that? Let's see. What else can we do? I can't think of anything. I apologize. So after Kingdom Hearts 3, then we have Dragon Quest XI, which I believe the Switch port comes out in the fall. This is what's going to become interesting, because we know that rumor has it that the next Smash Bros. DLC character is going to be like, it's gonna be a Dragon Quest character, and like I just have that gut feeling that it's gonna be a Square Enix character. Like I really do, because it's just Square just has Cloud, and that's it. You know, like they need more. Like, or I would want more representation for Square if I was Square and I was Nintendo, and I would want more Square characters. I talked last week in the show. I would love to have 2B, Sora, or you know, those are my two choices. 2B or Sora. Even like Aqua. Man, that'd be awesome. Which, that gives me a thought too, which I won't talk about. But 2B or Sora. Or what if, like, you know, Square announces, just a side note, Square announces a, like a Kingdom Hearts fighting game or something. Like, that'd be cool, right? I wouldn't mind that. But, yeah, I think you have to do something. So my guess is, okay, Nintendo, I didn't look at the schedule, but Nintendo's normally the last people to show. They normally do a direct that Monday after. So I think if I am Square Enix, I might, you know, kind of tease maybe a Final Fantasy character or not a Square Enix character being in Smash, Dragon Quest, most likely. And then the next day in the Nintendo, in the Direct, they probably talk about, okay, we're gonna have we're gonna have this character revealed, which should be exciting. Or they elaborate more. Sorry, I'm trying to think of 100 things. And after that, what else? Square? You know, Square's an interesting company, because a lot of the games already came out. Like Eidos Montreal, it just came out with the new Tomb Raider game, and I don't think you announced another Tomb Raider game this soon. And, you know, Deus Ex isn't a thing anymore. Just Cause just released. Life is Strange, maybe they probably have a trailer. Like, I think Life is Strange will still be going on. So they probably might have a trailer for Life is Strange 2 for one of the episodes 3 or 4, whatever we're on now. We don't know. Is what I imagine, you know, we might do. Besides that, man, like the Western Front there's not a lot of stuff the Western Front's doing. Japanese Front, I'm just thinking, could we have, you know, Octopath Traveler was a big game. I don't think we're going to see anything new, but we might, you know, who knows, maybe an update for Octopath Traveler, that'd be cool. We might see, I think they announced like there's an Octopath Traveler phone game, which is like a prequel or sequel of the original game, so they might talk about that. That would be a possibility. And on the other Japanese side, like, I imagine, are we going to see Final Fantasy? I just don't know. Besides 7, of course. Are we going to see Final Fantasy 16? Maybe. I mean, it's been a few years, but they just canceled it, so I just don't know what they'll do with that game. It's been a while since we had a Final Fantasy announcement. So what are we gonna do? I don't know. Nero, I doubt we'll see anything from Nier Automata because that game is, already came on Xbox. If anything, if a Nier Automata game, it might be on Switch, but it might want on Switch. Maybe they're putting it to Switch. Who knows? Fantastic game though. If you guys haven't played Nier Automata. So yeah, I think for Square Enix, like what they really need to do is they need to surprise things out of the park, right? And I'm pretty sure they're probably gonna have a few new ones. They really need to make sure that they, because the press conferences haven't been very good. But if Square Enix comes out of the park and says, hey, we have Avengers, we have Final Fantasy, I mean, those two things are huge. And if they have some prize announcement, whether it be Final Fantasy 16 or whatever, like maybe like a Square Enix fighting game, like maybe do something new with Nier, maybe like announce that the director of Nier is making Final Fantasy 16. That would be cool. Who knows? Who knows what's happening there? But that should be pretty exciting. And another news story that I heard today, which was an interesting news story, I don't know how much I'm going to talk about, but I'll talk about, is that there was something that happened when, for what I hear the story goes, is that, this is why I should have the story pulled up beforehand. I didn't think about that. Learning experience. See, this, maybe tomorrow I'll have the stories pulled up. But basically what happened is a guy was on PlayStation. He bought all his games on PlayStation, and he was on chat and said some, like, PlayStation, he downloaded the games, and he was very racist. He said very, I believe, maybe homophobic stuff, like he's saying some pretty nasty things, and he got suspended for hate speech. Hold on, let me get my phone. Excuse me. Sorry. He got suspended for hate speech for a week. And then he kind of, for what I understood, he emailed Sony, said some horrible things, and that actually ended up him locking his games, like all his games that he bought legally. He ended up being locked, and it's possible that he won't be able to have access to the games ever again if his account's just locked. And that creates an interesting moral dilemma. Because on one hand, you shouldn't be a racist, you shouldn't be homophobic, you shouldn't be sexist. Those are things you should not do. Those are all very bad things. At the same time, though, if I buy something from a company, if I have my water bottle right here, and I bought this water bottle with my own money, and let's say I say something that water bottle company doesn't like, they shouldn't be able to come and take my water bottle from me because I already bought it. It's mine. And whether that be a freedom of speech issue, because I definitely agree that this guy shouldn't have been allowed. Like, I don't think honestly, my opinion, I don't think he should be allowed to play games online, or at least chat with people or interact with people in any sort of way, verbally, ever again during PlayStation Network. Because I think, PlayStation should have should be able to build an environment that, refuses that type of thing. And I believe that's in their right. Should they lock their games away, though? I just don't know, like a lot of people talk about, oh, this is why you don't buy, you buy digital games, you just buy physical games. I don't really think that's the case. I think, this is a bad PR move from Sony, because, like, this one particular guy was being an asshole, was being just a terrible human being, but it does create precedent of, like, oh, well, will Sony do this again? Will Sony just take away people's access to games? And PlayStation Plus, you pay a subscription, a monthly or yearly subscription fee, and you get all these games for free. But if that subscription fee goes away, then those games are still downloaded, you just don't have access to them. And for me, that's like, okay, like, I didn't pay for these games, but I kind of did, but I just need to pay the subscription again to have them be unlocked again. Sounds fair to me. But just having something like, these are my games I bought with my own money, and Sony saying you can't have access. And that's the weird thing about the digital media age too, because one thing why a lot of people like want to have hard copies is they want to own the game, because digital stuff like that can just disappear. You see that with YouTube videos. You can see that with a ton of different things that you buy online. Movies can just be gone. We had some games just don't exist anymore, right? Like Scott Pilgrim, and you can only play those games physically because you can't buy them online. And that's a big issue, right? Video game preservation is a big issue, and there are definitely people out there working with that to try to make it better. But for us, I think as gamers and consumers and the people who develop these games, I do think that they owe us. That this is their game. This is, we can buy this game. This is our subscription services, and eventually it's all going to be subscription services anyway, if I'm being honest. But until that day happens, I think, you download these games, you buy these games, they're yours, right? And I think that might be precedent to add a subscription service saying, okay, if you're a racist, we're going to subscribe to these games, you don't own these games, we just pay a monthly, yearly fee to pay all these games, like a Xbox Game Pass or something like that, or PlayStation Plus. And if you don't like we're just not going to let you have access to these games anymore. And that might be a little bit of a discussion, right? Because you're basically winning those games at that point. You don't own them. So I don't know. I think it's hard to say that Sony shouldn't have done that because the guy was a dick. But at the same time, I do think that no matter what, if you own the game legally, then they shouldn't be taken away from you. So that's my opinion on that matter. Is there anything else I want to talk about today? Let me take a swig of water. I just talk too much. My mouth gets so dry. Okay. So, what I want to talk about now, and I probably want to spend a few minutes and then call it a day. But what I want to talk about now is my plans, because I like to make videos and give out my plans, because I feel it gives me at least some form of accountability. And at this point, I'm saying I don't know I'm going to do this because it might be a little bit too complicated. I don't know if I have time to do this, or maybe I will do this eventually, but it'll be a year before I finally release this video. Who knows? So, I love Game of Thrones. I gave a video talking about my love for Game of Thrones. I love that storyline of okay, we have all these different characters, and I talked about this before, but streamlined. You have the ton of cast of characters. In the first episode, they're really only in one or two locations, right? And they all kind of go their separate ways, and they keep on going farther and farther, and eventually storylines kind of combine with each other, like X character and Y character, who have had their storylines for years, well, they're not kind of combined, and then A character and B character, those two characters have been around for years, and they kind of combined. And you have AB and XY, and those two storylines combined. And that's what's happening in the show right now from the past couple of seasons. And, I'm recording this the Monday before episode 3. I'm pretty excited about it. I'm going to guess and say the episode's going to be called The Long Night. Miguel Sapochnik's coming back, my favorite Game of Thrones director. So excited to watch this episode. And, but here's the thing, is that when I want to go ahead and make a video that talks about this structure, because I think this structure fascinates me. I think this style of storytelling fascinates me. I can name a few shows that didn't. It's really hard to do. Stephen King said that stuff is incredibly hard to do, and a few shows I feel is able to do that. I think, a lot of ways, the Avengers films, the MCU films, are able to do that quite well. And I think that I think that some anime, Fate Zero does it pretty well, and there's some other shows that do it pretty well too. And I'm thinking about, what if I make a YouTube video that, kind of graphs, I have to rewatch the whole series again and have to, make a little pamphlet, make a little Microsoft Excel sheet where I'm just okay, this character went out at this point, and there he is. Okay, this character started here and he ended there, and this kind of graph how the plot lines work, because that's fascinating. And just kind of talk about that. And I don't really know anything else above that. But hey, I did it. So, I think that's a good idea. So I think I'm gonna foster that. I think I'm gonna make a video about that one day. Also, I'm thinking about. I know what my first big video is going to be, and man, that's why I want to get a job. Because I want to get a job, I can start doing it. I know what's gonna be right now, and I'm just debating about if I think I can do a good job, and I think I can. I really think I can. We'll see. I don't want to be too hubris about this because maybe it turns out terrible. We'll see what happens. If I make a fantastic video, I'm thinking maybe I just start my Patreon right then and there. Like, if I'm so happy with this video that I think is amazing, I think I might just release it and say, hey, at the end, follow my Patreon if you want more. Because that's kind of like the stuff I want to do, right? So I don't know. I think that's something to look into. I want to look at Patreon a little bit more. I've been looking at other creators' Patreons, kind of see what they do, kind of see what I think I can manage, because there are some things I couldn't manage by myself, and then there are some things I can, so we'll see about that. So those are my ideas. So look up to that, hopefully, in the near future. And, yeah, tell me if you like the new setup, right? And, exciting. Also, newest episode of Game of Thrones, it was pretty great.